Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. You know, up until recently, affording an Esquire meant doing something you truly hated, like working at a solid waste dump, driving a Mitsubishi Mirage, or even acting as a personal assistant to James Corden. Luckily, you can stop punishing yourself because an affordable Esquire is finally within reach. You know the feeling. You're listlessly playing acoustic guitar by a random lake with some mountains in the distance, and you'd much rather be playing an Esquire. Ah, the Esquire, that single pickup guitar of myth with the slab body and the original ashtray bridge, and that distinctive headstock. It's the guitar that started it all. Fender's first solid body electric guitar is indeed the stuff of legends, starting with the original 1949 Snakehead prototype, leading eventually to the Esquire itself, and ultimately to the Telecaster we all know and love. Alright, so let's check out what we got here. First off, we've got the Squier Classic Vibe 50s Esquire. Really nice classic Esquire configuration here with the pine body and the blonde finish. Nice glossy maple neck. You know how much I like glossy maple necks. Love that sweet ass aged lacquer. And you got decent vintage style tuners and other hardware. And in addition to premium features like a bone nut, steel saddles, and a nice all nickel pickup which clocks in at about 6.92. Now for our second guitar, the Squier FSR Bullet Esquire. Well, there's actually no such thing, but let me explain. This guitar was marketed and sold as the Squier FSR Bullet Telecaster, which I think is a bridge to the new Squier Sonic series. Anyhow, I gave it the Esquire treatment, including dropping in an all-nickel wide pole piece. And in addition to the classic Esquire mod, which we'll talk about in a minute, I did some neck work on this because the frets were definitely not great. So let's check out some internals here, starting with the Squier FSR Bullet. Budget line in the Squier Telecaster series. It's got a bridge pickup which clocks in at about 3.6, so that's pretty lightweight. Conversely, the neck pickup clocks in at about 4.59, so it's a little hotter there. Now, one good feature I like in these bullets is cavity shielding all around, so you won't have to worry about excessive noise, and it's got the right body grounds, so good on you, Squier, for that. Now, unfortunately, with this iteration of the Bullet, they did away with the string through, which was unfortunate, but they do have a decent satin maple neck on this thing, you know, with some tung oil or whale oil or whatever I used, I can't remember. Managed to polish this up quite nicely. Now onto the Squier Classic 550s Esquire. Here is a shot of the pine body in all of its glory without the pickguard. Bridge pickup, you've got a pickup that clocks in at about 6.92, so kind of nice vintage heat, not bad. Now, this is typical of the Classic 5 series. The cavities are all pretty well cut, with the exception that they do leave a lot of crap behind, especially in this case. You see the remnants of buffing pad and some glaze, so come on, clean that out. That said, nice full-size 250K pots, decent wiring. Glad to see they used ginseng pots for this. And of course a nice Oak Grigsby style switch with the right traditional vintage style capacitor and resistor values for an Esquire, so that's really great to see on this. And of course that classic slim C-profile gloss maple neck with the vintage tint. If you're expecting a classic 50s baseball bat style neck, you're not going to get it here. To me, it's just dandy. Modifications, yeah. So on to the actual modification here. Why did I choose this wide pole piece all nickel 5 pickup? First of all, because it was fairly inexpensive, so to give you an idea of kind of what you can get for a budget. And also because it's very similar in output to what's in the Squier Classic 5, so great for comparison's sake there. Now onto the mod itself. I was looking for a way, like many people, to forego using a traditional Fender 3-way switch. Unlike some of my previous expensive mod jobs, this is all about using what we have on hand, in this case the standard import 3-way switch. And to our rescue, Astra Guitar Co. Link to this diagram, their Instagram and YouTube in the comments section. On their Instagram you can find this diagram, which was a huge lifesaver in terms of trying to figure out how to do an Eldred Esquire mod on a standard import switch. So thank you, Astra Guitar, for that. Now, when you follow the diagram linked to in the description, you'll see 3 key tabs, A2, A3, and A0. This is A0, this one right here, the rest are dead to me. Now we'll start with desoldering all of our existing connections with this giant desolderer, which looks like some kind of medical implement from the 19th century. As a first step, we're going to wire the lead that goes from the switch to the tone pot's input lug onto tab A0. Just like that. Bad soldering job. And then we got to wire the pickup hot to the same tab. Simple enough operation there. a 0.047 tone cap, then connects to tab A3 on the switch, like so, and of course grounds to the back of the tone pot. Then you got to put a lead going into your tone pot here, just useful for position 2 on the Esquire mod. And this one goes to tab A2, second tab down from the top. So ladies and gents, it's really as simple as that. This whole operation took me about 30 minutes. Now I get to this point and I'm trying to solder the pickup ground onto the back of the volume pot, and I'm cursing up a shitstorm because I can't get the solder to melt, and then I realize my soldering iron is turned off. Worst part is it took me about 5 minutes to realize that, but anyways, all's well that ends well. Let's check out some tones. Alright guys, the Squier Classic Vibe 50s Esquire and the Squier Bullet Esquire. How about them apples? Well, how do these two Esquires stack up? And is a purchase or a project in your future? Let me say that both of these have definite upsides. On the Squier Classic Vibe side, the combination nice hardware, a full-size pine body, and that glossy tinted maple neck make this, in my opinion, one hot little buy in its price range. And although the neck is a very thin profile and nowhere near the baseball bat necks of early Esquire myth that we might expect on a 50s reproduction, they got pretty much everything else right here, including the correct vintage tone and resistor values for the treble roll-off in position 3. It's good on you, Squier, Fender Esquire, for that. 50s Esquire? Hell yeah, the closest you're gonna get to one for this money. No Emerson paper caps or baked-like pickguard, but you can put all that in yourself. Get that for a fairly decent price as long as you don't go crazy and try to buy some vintage tone cap for $1,000 or something. Now on the topic of the Squier Bullet Esquire, the FSR Bullet, I'm still not sure why Fender would ever slap FSR on a Bullet Fender Special Run. Maybe Fender Substantially Reduced, or Fender Standard Route, or Fender Special Rub. Anyways, it's overall a good little base for an Esquire, especially on a very tight budget, with those shielded cavities, a decent satin neck, and the 9.5 radius fretboard, of course, and acceptable hardware. It's a good one to grab if you can get it for the right price. And of course, dropping in this $40 all nickel wide pole piece pickup and a $15 no hole pickguard have made this the Esquire I always dreamed of being. Now with all that lovey-dovey stuff out of the way, there are drawbacks to both of these two which you want to take into consideration if you're running the buy a budget Esquire mod or cheap telly debate in your head at night as you fall asleep and drift into your joyful nightmare dreaming about guitars smashing you over the head left and right until you go out and buy a custom Esquire. For example, you've got to take into account the lack of shielding in the Classic Vibe, which could be an issue if you're trying to control feedback at higher volumes. And then there's the Squier. Despite a decent satin neck, the finishing on the neck was just subpar. The frets were kind of sharp and gritty, and it needed multiple truss rod adjustments over the course of just a few months. I think I adjusted it about 3 times just within a few months. It kept going out. And what happened to the string through, Squier? What happened to that?
What happened to string through?
So when it comes down to it, folks, my recommendation is this. If you can get your sweaty, greasy palms on this Squier Classic Vibe Esquire, it is a hell of a deal. And despite the finishing issues on the neck of this, if you can get one on sale, go ahead and grab it for real cheap. Anyways, that'll do it, folks. Hope you learned something here, and hope you see fit to go out and do your own Esquire project. There's just something special about the old one single coil guitar, that look, that feel, that sound that you can't get anywhere else. And with the Classic Vibe Esquire, at least, you don't have to sell the farm and send the family out in the cold, live in a shack, a tent, or a hole on the side of the road to finally get your hands on something close to the real thing. So once again, guys, thanks so much for hanging out today with me. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, etc., etc., etc. Keep on playing, and keep watching the channel for a whole lot more.